of hundreds of mistakes discovered later, all made on the $2.5 billion structure described by the Nuclear Regulatory Commission as the most highly analyzed building in the world.
Today, most locals and tourists are completely unaware of the passion Californians vented against the nuclear energy mafia just 33 years ago.
Fukushima resting right over those mountains.
I don't know what you're talking about.
Experts would have us just bury our heads in the sand, but some are already preparing for the inevitability of America's Fukushima.
If Diablo blows, nobody's staying around to use it. I've actually got backpacks in my car, you know, for heading out. Preparedness, I think, is very important.
Yeah.
But the whole idea that they're going to sound the sirens and we're all going to head north, it just won't work.
Yeah.
Northeast. So
yeah.
I wish it wasn't there. But it is, and maybe they'll deactivate it, and that would be fine with me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I think it's great how the citizens on our own can be prepared, yet, you know, we're asking our government basically to take care of us, and they're, you know, telling us to look the other way. Yeah. And how can you do that when all of this is at risk?
Well, it always comes in the limelight once there's an earthquake. So the Napa earthquake has made everybody kind of think about it again. You know, that a good earthquake would cause the plant to blow, and would want to get out of here. When
you look around and you see all of this beauty, all these families, all these people, how does that make you feel knowing that they're okay with a potential Fukushima situation here in America? We know we couldn't all get out. You know, they say head north. I mean, head east, northeast once the plant warns us. But you know that you couldn't do that. The freeway would be jammed. That's why, you know we could go across the Santa Maria River bed and head south. I raised 7 children in this town, and I taught them all to run home no matter what their school told them, because we were going to hop in the car and get out somehow. They weren't going to wait for school buses. But yeah, it's a big problem. They say we provide 20% of California's power at that plant. But I think they named it Diablo for a reason.
As the purported Chinese curse goes, may you live in interesting times. For INFOWARS.com, I'm John Baum.
Alex Jones here to tell you about how you can help spread liberty worldwide while also enjoying what I have found to be the best tasting 100% organic coffee on the planet. For more than a decade, my favorite coffee has come from the high mountains of southern Mexico, where the Chiapas farmers grow their unique shade-grown Arabica beans. We have now managed to secure these sought-after beans in a highly customized blend. Discover and try a bag of the Patriot Blend 100% organic coffee at InfoWarsLife.com. This coffee gives you a long, smooth pick-me-up for hours without the headaches and heartburn that so many other coffees give me personally. Hands down, this is my favorite coffee, and it's taken us years to secure connections directly to the Chiapas Mexican farmers. Drop by the site today, order a bag or two, and I don't think you're going to be disappointed. Available in original or with our Immune Support Infusion Blend. You will be supporting a free press, all the while enjoying a truly great-tasting cup of my favorite coffee. Available at InfoWarsLife.com.
Celebrate the spirit of freedom and liberty upon which our nation was founded at InfoWarsShop.com. Molon Lave is ancient Greek for come and take it. This popular design combines both classic Greek Spartan imagery with modern M16 assault rifles. Now available in women's tees and proudly made in the USA. And now you can protect yourself from corrupt cops with the InfoWars dash cam. It's your car's black box that records all that the driver sees and hears. And introducing the Block It Pocket. It renders your phone undetectable while protecting your private data and your health. Or take back your privacy and protect your personal information by getting your very own Detractor cell phone pouch. So get incredibly high-quality, freedom-based products and help fund the revolution at InfoWarsShop.com.
I'm Joe Biggs with InfoWars.com, standing outside of the Western Refinery in El Paso, Texas. Now, the reason I picked this site is because we now know that ISIS is the largest funded terrorist organization in the world. The reason why is because they're taking over places such as this right behind me all across the Middle East. They're able to take these over, and they are now making tons and tons of money. Now, the reason they picked Juarez could be a strategic move. This is just right across the border. Juarez is no more than a few miles to my left. Now, we also have, many other buildings in this area that we've talked about. We have the military base, FBI has an office. But those are just things to think about, whether or not that's why they picked this spot. But there's another really interesting article out right now in the Washington Examiner. So if you would like to take a look, it says, new ISIS threat, America's electric grid, blackout could kill 9 out of 10 people. This article came out today, so I encourage you to go check it out. Now, there's some interesting points in here. One of the leading experts on the grid said inadequate grid security and a porous U.S.-Mexico border and fragile transmission systems make the electric grid a target for ISIS, said Peter Pry. And like I said, he is one of the leading experts on the grid. By one estimate, should the power go out and stay out for over a year, 9 out of 10 Americans would likely perish. And the reason being, hospitals going down, your non-perishable, your frozen foods, things like that would go bad. The water supplies would shut down because of the power needed to help push that water through to your homes. So it's a very big threat. And they're saying that there's horrible security at these power grid structures across our country. And all they need to do with the amount of money they have is activate these jihadist, sleeper cells in the country. And then why not pay some of the cartels? That's a lot of people with a lot of money and a lot of power and the weaponry to come over here and easily take over a place like this and then start shutting down power grids all across the country. This is a very huge threat. It's something that we need to look into, and it's something just to be aware of. I'm not saying it can happen or will happen, but they do have the money, and they have been doing it in the Middle East. So why not come over here to where their biggest enemy is and try to do it here? But I do have to say this, we're not the kind of people who are going to sleep on it. We will stand up. We will rise. Liberty prevails. We will do the best we can to conquer that enemy. I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com at the epicenter of the ISIS terror threat here in El Paso, Texas, on our southern borders, right across from Juarez, Mexico. Now, I'm going to give you a little recap of what's going on up until now with the ISIS threat, what we know, whether or not we know if it's a hoax or a false flag, or if it's a legitimate threat. But what we do know thus far is that Judicial Watch a few days ago came out with an article saying that they had intelligence report saying that there was chatter about ISIS operating in Juarez. Now, we know Juarez is a hotbed for gang violence, drug cartel activity. So, it makes sense that ISIS could fit in that area well. They both like to behead people and murder people like crazy. What we now know is that there have been 11 planes possibly hijacked out of an airport in Libya. They have been taken, and they are missing at this point. So we don't know what's going on with that. So that's just something to keep in the back of your mind. We are getting ready to come up on the 13th anniversary of the 9/11 attacks, so it is kind of scary knowing that there could be possibly some planes missing as well. But one of the things that I spoke to the vice president of the Border Patrol Council a couple days ago, and what he said this time to me was pretty interesting. I know a lot of you guys have heard me mention his name, Stu Harris. He's done a lot of work for me and helped me out, giving me information about the border and the illegal immigration and things of that nature. And I said, hey, I was like, we've seen this article on Judicial Watch talking about possible car bombs coming in from Juarez. Is this a threat that you guys are taking seriously? And if so, do you have any information you could pass along to me? And this is the first time he's ever said this. He goes, that's something that I cannot comment on at this time. I thought that was pretty crazy, seeing how he's been very open with information thus far. But then a few minutes later, he texted me back and he goes, I'm actually talking to our media liaison for the Border Patrol right now about that. So he hasn't said anything back to me about that, but I felt that to be a little weird. Now we know that El Paso over the weekend closed down 2 of its major gates that they use to allow people in and off base. They made vehicles subject to go through random car searches. They bring out dogs. They look for stuff like that. They bring the mirrors under the vehicles. They definitely heighten their security up Also, the commanding general of Fort Bliss was briefed about a possible ISIS threat coming from Juarez. So with all that added up, that is a pretty legitimate thing to consider as a threat. But then again, it could be a false flag being used to take our liberties away from us. But then again, if it is a real threat and something does happen, they can also use that to take our liberties away as well. We saw how fast that can happen in Ferguson, Missouri. But stay tuned. We're going to continue bringing you reports. But also, one last thing before we get out of here. I spoke to a lady who's lived here her entire life last night, and she has taken the threats to be very seriously. You know, I've spoken to quite a few people that I knew living here a long time ago over the past few days, and most of them take this as a serious threat. But the mainstream media here in El Paso is saying it's all a hoax. There's nothing to worry about. Continue on with your daily routine. I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com in El Paso, Texas, right across the border from Juarez, where there are reports of an imminent threat and attack by the ISIS terrorist group, which we all know is funded by the CIA. Now, there are reports that they've heard some chatter over the radio that the threat could be a VBIED. And what that is a vehicle-borne improvised explosive device. A driver gets in the vehicle, drives it into his target, and it flattens the place out completely. Now, is this a false flag to stage a reason to take our liberties away? I mean, we saw how quickly things went to hell and a martial law status was in place in Ferguson. Don't forget about that. Or is this an actual threat, a legitimate threat by ISIS on our southern borders? So this is something you need to think about, and I encourage the people watching this to comment on this at the bottom of the video on YouTube. But let me get back to another thing. If this is an actual legitimate threat, and it can be, because one of the reasons El Paso, Fort Bliss this weekend shut down a lot of its main gates and only left them open for personnel with DOD CAT cards. That is a white Army ID that has a chip in it, has all their information on that. And then also all the vehicles were subject to being searched by the MPs at the gates with dogs, looking for stuff like that, explosive things of that nature. So they've definitely taken that threat to be a serious threat, and they've heightened their security. So that kind of adds a little bit of legitimacy to the threat. Now, another thing as well, though, if this is a real threat, will the Democrats take the blame? Because they have done nothing to help secure our borders whatsoever. You know, we're spending $30 million on getting these huge Border Patrol facilities built. Meanwhile, behind me is a gate that's been left open. We've seen it. You've seen the video. It's a viral video. Now, this is a main gate right off of I-10, but literally just around the corner over here is a small place that I'm going to take us to tomorrow, and you can see, you can walk right across the river. It's right on the U.S.-Mexico border right there. It's not that hard. People watch these videos like, oh, it'd be so hard. No, it's not. Stop playing around with yourself. This is a serious, serious issue, and it's funny. The borders are weak. There's ISIS supposedly in Juarez right now, wanting to, incite violence and, take out targets on American soil. That's a pretty legitimate threat. Even if it doesn't happen, that's still something that you should take seriously. And if there is an actual attack that really happens on our American soil right here in a border town like El Paso, only a matter of time they will use that to take away our liberties. There will be martial law up and down throughout the country and every small American city, and then it's going to move to everything. Tanks up and down the street. It will be complete and total chaos. Stay tuned for more reports. I'm Joe Biggs with INFOWARS.com.
Well, that's it for this edition of the InfoWars Nightly News, but stop by PrisonPlanet.tv and to get yourself a 15-day free trial. You can get the Alex Jones Show, the Nightly News, the Special Reports, the Rants, and so much more at PrisonPlanet.tv. I'm Jakari Jackson from the InfoWars Command Center, and we'll see you again tomorrow night.
I began to get into iodine a few years ago because it was helping me and my family so much get healthy and detoxify. I believe our research is conclusive. This is the best iodine out there. And I know this for a fact. Nobody else has got iodine based on these pure crystals, ladies and gentlemen. For a limited time, experience the ancient power of Survival Shield X2. Take advantage of this unprecedented 30% off.